Welcome. There we go. Welcome back. Episode 49.
What's up, shitbags? Welcome back. Like Brandon said, I mean, it's been a little bit. I know we felt bad. We're excited to keep things going back and rolling. Summer's over, so hopefully we keep on a nice steady track here. But we're still excited and glad that we keep on getting to do this shit. So, sorry, we gotta try and get a little more PG. It's
Sorry about him.
No, absolutely. But thank you guys so much for tuning in, for listening. Huge thank you to all of our sponsors who make it happen. So Taylor's Tins, Jobtown Graphics, Toxic Suppression, Crew First Culture, just a bunch of awesome people. Wouldn't be able to do it without them. And like I said, we're excited to keep going. I mean, episode 50 next, that's huge. Just every time we keep talking about, every time we're close to a milestone, but it's awesome. We can't wait to reach all those things. And thank you guys for tuning in. And without further ado, I think it's time to bring in the man of the hour. Let's bring in Steve. Steve, good morning.
Welcome.
Morning, fellas.
Good morning.
Oh, how's it going?
We're hanging in there. It's Friday, baby. TGIF. Ready to kick this thing off.
There we go.
Appreciate you guys having me.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming on.
Absolutely.
Why don't you go ahead and give a little introduction? Tell everybody about you.
For sure. So my name is Steve Vullings. I'm a financial advisor, currently with Northwestern Mutual. Been with the company, roughly 6 going on 7 years now. 7 years will be in November. Originally born and raised Milwaukee, Wisconsin, with my mom, my brother. Live with my now wife, Giovanna, my 2 kids, my son, Rocco, and my daughter, Lucia, in Pewaukee. And we're just, living life, taking one day at a time and enjoying the journey, man. So, again, appreciate you guys having me and feel grateful to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much for coming on. So we all jump right into the questions that we got. We talked a little bit about it. And, you talked to that you're a financial advisor. So we got a lot of financial questions later. But we like to, as you're our second civilian guest coming on, we kind of like to also stress we talk about a lot in the fire service of that we do things for you guys as civilian, you, your family, and your friends, all that. And so we like to kind of see that flip side whenever we have the chance to bring some of the civilian side on here. So the first question that we have is, what do you expect from your fire department?
Well, just to show up would be me, right? I think, obviously you guys are in the community to make an impact, right? It's a super hard job. I see obviously what my brother, for those who don't know, my brother's a captain at Mitchell International. My cousin, Casey, is a captain with Milwaukee Fire Department. But, I see and hear the stories that you guys talk about, right? But I think just showing up, continue to make an impact in the community is always huge, obviously. That's where I would start there. Obviously, it's
Yeah, show up.
Yeah, that's half the battle most days.
Right, for sure. Long hours and long days, man. That's for sure. So
yeah, absolutely. Well, then, kind of going deeper into that, how important to you is our training? So like you said, I'm sure you got a little bit of a background where you hear things but when we show up, how important is it to you that we've trained and that we know what we're doing?
100%. I think what I do is important, right? But I think the flip side of the career that you guys have chose is even more important. One, because, I don't know the percentages of the ratios. You guys might know this a little bit more than I do, but people's lives are on the line, right? When you guys are called, right? So obviously the training is huge. It's super important, right? People's lives are on the line, right? So the due diligence that you guys take in the training leading up to it, being on probation or whatever, probation, leading up to being a full-time firefighter, it's all super important, man, especially when people's lives are on the line, right? So I think that training and everything is huge for you guys.
Yeah.
Awesome. Perfect. Now we'll get back into your wheelhouse and we'll get to hear about your expertise. So sure. First thing that we have is, where do you recommend new firefighters invest their money?
That's a very open-ended question.
Absolutely.
Right. I think a lot of it is going to depend on age, right? But if you're a young firefighter coming into this hot, right, setting up the benefits, all that good stuff, pension, deferred comp, you got to be aggressive, right? So without getting too far down the rabbit hole, I mean, obviously every firefighter should be investing into the S&P 500, 100%, right? So I think with the timeline that you guys have, especially as younger guys, right, being able to invest in that is huge. I also think that if there's two other things that firefighters should be doing, right, depending on what the department offers, I know every department's different, right, but Roth IRA or just Roth 457, right? So always talk to whoever helps set up the benefits for you guys, right? I know there's a couple different carriers, obviously, right? But Roth is huge. I always tell my clients that the things that the older guys did, the boomers, the people before us, right? The millennials, the Gen Xers, whatever, that stuff's not going to work in 30 years from now, right? So when you talk about taxes increasing, just things in the economy getting crazier and crazier, right? I would say be super aggressive in your retirement, right? Because you guys have that floor of income with your pension, which is huge. I'd say every time I run a financial analysis for guys, I mean, that pension is an absolute game changer for you guys. So being able to have that floor of income with your pension, as long as we get those years of service in, but also just making sure that, once again, we are allocating your retirement correctly, right? Watch out for the target date funds, as great as those are, right? You just got to be careful with that, right? But I would also say S&P 500, 100%, just historically, and then just making sure we are doing some sort of Roth vehicle and a pension maximization strategy. So I would say Roth just for tax mitigation, and then the pension max strategy to be able to obviously take the single life option with your pension when you guys retire.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you mentioned, that pension, I mean, it is huge. It's such a weird thing that maybe it's gotten better, I feel like, but when you're starting out, nobody really understands like what that is or how important it is.
Oh yeah.
I mean, how I guess rare is it even? Is you that work with everyone from fire to just your civilian? Like, can you touch on that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I read a book. This was a while ago, probably 2 years ago. I mean, but just the fact that you guys have the pension, I don't remember the statistic, right? But like back in our grandparents' days, a majority of people had pensions, right? Because that was how these corporations were built, was off the pension system, right? I would say I won't say like put this down in writing, but I would say it's a very small percentage of people even get pensions anymore, right? Now, I don't want to like have you quote this, right? But I would just say very small percentage, right? So obviously your field, first responders, things of that nature, obviously state and local government, right? And funny enough, like myself as a financial advisor with NM, I actually get 2 pensions as well, but I'd have to double back to you. I know that's going to bother me. I'll have to look to see what that percentage is of like who still, obviously in today's day and age, is the percentage of people still receiving pensions or will receive a pension.
Interesting.
That's interesting.
You mentioned it a little bit, and so we'll kind of dive back into it a little deeper. But how important then is that deferred comp for a firefighter's retirement?
Oh, it's huge. I mean, at the end of the day, you guys retire. I always crack the joke. I said, obviously you guys do this job that a lot of people would never want to do, right? Mm-hmm. So you guys receive and reap the benefits, the rewards of that deferred comp, of the 457 pension, et cetera. But dude, when you talk about retiring 10 years earlier than most people, I mean, it's absolutely critical, right? But I would also say tying in other tools to the tool belt, right? Outside of just the deferred comp. Okay. So whether that be non-qualified investments, giving, I would say firefighters more liquidity to an extent, right? Just outside of the deferred comp in their pension. Because at the end of the day, if you're not doing a Roth portion in your deferred comp, right, we're paying taxes on all of that, right? So we've got to make sure that we're being tax efficient from a liquidity perspective, especially in that distribution phase. I think firefighters can overlook that portion. A lot of the guys that I'm working with, just full transparency, are your guys' age. I'd say that 25 to 40 range, right? Mm-hmm. I don't have a ton of firefighters. I mean, maybe 2 or 3 that we're working with in distribution phase now that are actually retired. But understanding, okay, when I retire, taking that pension option, like what does that look like? So I'd say really dive deep into that. Obviously, you're not going to know a ton of that until you're probably within 2 to 3 years of retirement, right? Yeah. Like what that's going to look like and what that pension is going to look like. But I mean, obviously, I always just tell my guys, man, and just try to be transparent. The more tools you can put in your tool belt, the better, right? I think the way our grandparents taught us to save, or like our parents taught us to save, like I said earlier, it's just not going to work. Hey, all of the safe money, just, put that in the bank, little interest, let that ride. It's safe. It's not going anywhere. And then put everything else into retirement.
Mhm.
Right. So I don't think that's going to work much longer, just based on like our generation, the economy, and the risks that we face. Right. So I would say just add as many tools to the tool belt as possible. Right. Whether that's Social Security, taking the pension, having your deferred comp, making sure you're being tax efficient, right? Understanding your pension options, and making sure, just from a liquidity perspective, right, that you're not going to get killed in taxes, right? Because again, you guys have to come up roughly, depending on years of service, with an extra 5 to 10 years of like income that most people don't have to worry about because they're retiring at 62 or 65, right? So that extra income for that extra 10 years is also a game changer for normal people. So the more tools you guys have in the tool belt, the better. Non-qualified, qualified, pensions, Roth, tax efficient strategies are huge.
Yeah. And something I just thought about, because we actually, two guys that I know of kind of ran this as a test process, because you mentioned, and diving back to the retirement system, but the WRS, how like I didn't know until recently when they found out about this, or they knew about it, they were sharing, they were figuring out which one was better, but like there's a variable fund and I think it's a conservative that you can do with WRS, and normally you get put in to that conservative fund immediately. And like for us, as our like fight for the job and everything, we don't pick how much we pay into it, but that you can fill out and change what you're doing. And the guys that ran this, like they both got hired at the same time. They started at the same time. One of them has been conservative his whole career. The other ran variable and just changed it this year as he's coming up on retirement. And it was, the variable guy had a lot more money.
Yeah.
Like, and that was something that like I didn't know. I mean, coming up on 5 years in, that was the first I'd heard about it, and I was like, oh my goodness, that's that's huge. Like it was a significant change that they were able to get.
Yeah, I would say that just doubles back to, and this is obviously just for the younger guys, right? And even guys that might be a little bit more established in their career, the 30 to 40-year-olds, and even the veterans, the 40 to 55s, right? I would say just doing your due diligence on what you're putting your money into, right? Yeah. I don't think there are people like again, I'm not going to speak for departments because there's hundreds, thousands of them, right? But I would say it's not their job to point you in that direction. I'd say a lot of this stuff is set up by default. Right. So, hey, I signed up. I put my name on the dotted line. I'm now officially a full-time first responder. I have all these great benefits. But, the sublines underneath some of these benefits, hey, conservative, right? On the WRS, variable. Like, what are the differences? So I think if I have advice for guys that are coming into this, ask questions. Right. I just think that's a huge one. And, a little bit of a little side joke, nudge here, dude. Talk to a financial advisor, right? It doesn't have to be me, right? But I would say if you know somebody at Nationwide or some of these other places, right? Whatever that looks like, or within your HR system at your department, sit down and say, hey, I really need to understand these benefits. What's going to be best for me at my age, with my tenure, where I'm going, and what I'm looking to accomplish. You just have to take that 20-minute conversation with somebody, right? And most of the time, it's not going to cost you anything.
Yeah, no.
So, other than maybe money long term. Right? So, for sure. Yeah,
both departments I've been a part of, I mean, you could take advantage of that. Is they've had meetings. It's like, maybe twice a year they come in, and there's so many guys that are like, whatever. And maybe it's because they've got financial advisors of themselves, but have someone to talk to and make sure that you actually take that extra time. Yeah,
for sure. I mean, talk to the professionals, man. I mean, that's what they're there for. They're there to help. They're there to assist people, right? It's the same with me, right? Like a lot of what I do is, I'm assisting clients with money, but I'm also educating, and that's just a part of this job, right? To sit down and help people understand their benefits and educate them on what they have so that they have clarity around it.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah, absolutely. We mentioned a little bit in terms of, age and everything. How important is starting early with investments?
Huge.
How much does time change things?
What I'll do, guys, is I got this page. I probably can't share screens here or anything, and I don't have it ready, but I have this page in our analysis that we run, and it's literally titled "The Importance of Investing Early." Right. And it's based on age.
Nailed
brackets. Yep. So based on age brackets, from what I can remember, the first age bracket was, okay, if you start investing between the ages of 20 to 30, And then the next bracket over is 30 to 40. Next bracket is 40 to 50, and then 50 to 60, et cetera, right? And this is to retire with $1 million by the age of 65. Okay, so the first bracket, if you start investing into the stock market, let's just say, mutual funds, just typical S&P 500, whatever that looks like. If I remember correctly, and like I said, I'll forward this over to you guys so that you have it, but it's roughly about $300 a month, right? When you're starting in that 20 to 25-ish range, right? As you're approaching into the 30s, obviously I'm sure it creeps up. As you haul over to that final column, if you're 55 to 65, okay? This is a per month on the 300 for the younger 20-year-old. When you're in the 50s and 60s, it's over 2,000 a month.
Jeez.
So what I always tell people is compound interest is huge, right? Yeah. So the longer runway you have to invest into the stock market, okay, so i.e. being a 20-year-old, 25-year-old person, you don't have to put as much money into it because you have interest backing you, right? Yeah. The 55 to 65-year-olds, and this is the unfortunate part of just the world that I live in, right? Where I meet with a 45, 50-year-old who has invested nothing, right? And they still want to retire comfortably by 65. And you have to have those hard conversations with them, right? Hey, based on the decisions you've made and where we're at, I mean, here's what we need to do, right? Now, you can always tweak things, right? If I'm being honest, a lot of it's going to be based on the lifestyle people want to live in retirement, But to tell a 55-year-old, hey, you didn't make the right decisions just on spending, investing, putting money into retirement. Maybe they didn't have that at the employer they were at. I'm not going to sit and talk for people, right? But I'd say it's hard to have those conversations because you see the life just sucked right out of them when you say, well, if we do want to retire comfortably and continue living the same lifestyle, we got to be saving about $1,800 a month. And they look at you like you're crazy, right? So
a lot of money.
I would say at the end of the day, as soon as you are able, I mean, I have clients that are 18 years old, right? Parents pass it down. Hey, I've been working with you for a couple of years, Steve. My son and or daughter graduating high school, whatever that looks like, can you meet with them? Maybe open up a Roth IRA, maybe open up some sort of investment account. If they can just put $150 to $100 into it just to get them started. I mean, dude, here's the motto of investing, especially young. Something is better than nothing. Right? Because you can always grow into it. And I say that to you. I probably said that to you guys too, right? So it's like, dude, at the end of the day, we start down here. You guys are young guys. We got a long runway. Let's start with what we're comfortable with. Yeah, we want to challenge you a little bit, right? But at the end of the day, the goal is to just every year we keep putting it up and up and up and up. Same way with people with their 401ks. Same way with you guys in your deferred comp. We start at 3%. Well, let's get it to 10, right? So over the next 5 to 10 years. So yeah, I mean, dude, it is crucial, right? That if people are coming in at a young age, and it's awesome to be able to show people like you or you guys, right, your guys' age, where it's like, okay, you guys are already putting 7% into deferred comp. You're going to have the pension. We opened up a Roth. We have this liquid non-qualified account. We've been working with you guys 4 or 5 years. Here's what the analysis is projecting. If you guys stay as is on the recommended path, no brainer. You guys are going to be good. Like not a problem. And then at that point, it's really just a matter of like, okay, combating taxes, combating other risks that people face in retirement with firefighters. A lot of it is the health issues and concerns that you guys deal with, right? So being able to mitigate those types of risks as well when you guys get to that point. So hopefully that's a long-winded answer to that question, but dude, invest as soon as you can. It is a no-brainer. And I felt guilty to that as well. I mean, full transparency, I did not do the best with saving money, and I probably didn't really start until I was in this career, to be completely honest with you. And that's just because I screwed around in my 20s, right? But to be able to be a 30-year-old and kind of look back and say, well, dude, I didn't make the best decisions. And there are people that are younger than me that are actually in a better spot because they saved 10 years earlier than I did, right? So I would say start as soon as possible if you can, for sure.
Awesome.
Absolutely. Where do you see most people fail in their finances?
Man. I'm trying to think because this could also be another 5 to 10 minute answer here.
Perfect.
All right. Perfect.
So, to start, I would say the basics. Okay. So I have a very simple philosophy with money, right? And just, I would say every single person needs to have a financial plan. Okay. Because if you don't have a financial plan, you're just kind of out in the world blind, and you can go off of the internet. You can go off of what people tell you to do, right? Or what they say to do. But I would say having a plan built specifically tailored for you, your income, your position, your goals, what you have going on. So I'd say that's the big one. I would say 8 out of 10 people or whatever it is, I don't know the exact number, right? 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10 people don't even have a financial plan or haven't even talked to a financial advisor, right? And I think a lot of people have this thought or understanding that in order to have a financial advisor, you have to have a ton of money, which is not true. I would tell you, yes, a lot of the colleagues that I have here in the office, they work with millionaires and they make a ton of money and they manage a lot of money. But I would say my book of business that I've had over the last 6 to 7 years, a majority of these are just blue collar people, blue collar families making 100 to 150 grand a year, dual income households. I mean, so it's very normal middle class people, right? But I would say that's usually step one. I would say that's usually a big one. Not even understanding where you're going wrong, what you're doing, and what you're missing. That's usually the first one. So putting a plan together with a professional such as myself or somebody that you might know, I'd say that's step one. The other big thing I see in a way, and I'm trying to figure out how I could say this right, is just diversification, right? So again, this kind of doubles back to what I was saying. Like when our parents and our grandparents said, do this, well, it's not going to work anymore, right? So the economy, the things that are happening, you have to be equipped with certain types of tools, okay? So I'd say the biggest overlooked one with regards, I would say the biggest one is taxes, if I'm being honest with you. Okay, so most people think, dude, I'm maxing out my 401k or I'm putting 50% in my deferred comp. This, the first question I always ask is, well, is that a Roth? Is it Roth? And they're like, well, no, it's just a traditional 401k or it's a traditional, 457 plan. It's like, okay, well, you're kind of handcuffed there, right? Like we need to switch that around because we are deferring taxes on that, right?
Yeah.
So I always say, do we think taxes are going to go up or down in the future over the next 30 years? What do you think 99% of the people say?
Well,
Right. So I would say like that is a big one, right? So as we get older, especially people our age, I'm 30, I will be 36. People that
this weekend. Happy early birthday.
hey.
all the glory to the big man. We made it another year. So, but I would say just people even our age, right, that have that 20 to 30 year window, you have to make sure you're putting your money in tax efficient places. As simple as like, okay, don't just put your money in a simple, savings account. Get some interest on it, high yield savings. Don't put your money in just a traditional 401k. Ask if they offer Roth. If they don't, talk to somebody like me. Open up a Roth IRA, right? Like I would say taxes is a big one. That's probably the second. And then the third, just based on my experience, right? In this industry, okay, I would say the lack of understanding the risks that are associated with certain things. Okay, so emergency fund. You would be surprised how many people I meet with on a regular basis that have zero money in the bank. So they are just riding on faith and hope, right? But then they wonder why they have all this credit card debt, right? So I would say emergency fund. Income protection planning. So if like you're working a normal job, now firefighters, it's a whole different ball game, but income protection, making sure you have the correct amount of life insurance in place, all these different risks, right? I would say long-term care mitigation is something that people our age don't think about. Right. But I just had a conversation with my mom and stepdad about it, I don't know, maybe like a month ago, because they are in that window. I mean, they work with, I don't know if it's JP Morgan or Ed Jones. So they're getting ready to approach retirement. And they haven't had any sort of conversation around long-term care, right? So it's actually the biggest risk that people face in retirement, outside of taxes, right? And inflation. So I would say, having a plan, no brainer. It's free for me to put one together for you, okay? Mitigating taxes because it's only getting higher and higher as it's going on, right? And then understanding and equipping your plan so that we can mitigate risk, right? So that your plan will flourish and your journey continues, right? I've been in this business 6 or 7 years and I have dealt with that, right? Whether that is death claims, whether that is friends of mine becoming disabled and not being able to work, whether it is people calling me saying that they don't have money saved up and they got this huge bill that's racking up on them, and now this credit card's building up on them. So it's just, again, it's a big scope of things, right? But I would say those are the three that I think are the most overlooked, with number one being just like an absolute no-brainer, right? Like I always crack the joke that, do you go to your primary care physician once a year just for evaluation? Yeah. And most people are like, yeah. And I'm like, it's probably because your health is important to you, right?
Yeah.
I mean, most people say yes, right? So I look at this type of career for my clients or any other financial advisor, whether it's at Merrill Lynch, Ed Jones, Fidelity, doesn't matter, dude. Have a conversation with somebody, because your financial health is just as important as your any other health you have, right? So I would say, just to categorize it, those would be the three. Get a plan, make sure you're mitigating taxes, and make sure you understand the risks that are associated with everything else within your plan outside of things that you're not educated on, obviously. Yeah. Right.
That's awesome.
Awesome. Well, we've got, Brennan's got this question for you. We've got a question that we've asked every one of our guests. So for you, it's extremely important to just take it however you see fit, because
oh boy, here we go. Let's go. Fire it off.
Why are we here? You take this wherever you want to take it.
No, I hear you. That's a good question, man. And I think everybody, and this isn't to get all like, kumbaya, right? But I would say, I think everybody's here for a specific reason. Everybody here was designed to have their own journey, right? Thinking back 10 years ago when I was in my early 20s, did I ever think when I was working in hospitality and blue collar jobs that I would be in a corporate setting teaching people finance or understanding finance when I wasn't even good at managing my own finances at the time? No. I'm also a big believer in, this is just me, and you can take it however you'd like, but I take my faith seriously. And I do believe that God has a plan laid out for everybody, right? And there's a lot of different ways that your journey can go based on the decisions you make, right? And I kind of double back to, hey, the decisions that I've made over the last 10, 15 years have what put me into this spot. And that's not by default. It's not. My life is not by default. It's by design. That's kind of been my motto. Just based on my faith and my religion and understanding that there's a higher power. So the fact that I am now a licensed financial advisor, licensed in 35 plus states, managing, over 1,000 clients, right? Sitting here talking with you two guys, having a good relationship with both of you, having a beautiful wife, 2 healthy children. I think that is my journey. I was meant to be here. And I think everybody, you two, firefighters, whatever you do for a living or wherever you're at in life, I think, again, religious or not religious, it's by design. It's not by default, right? So that's just kind of always been my motto. So, I hope that answers that question, Brennan.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. Okay, for sure.
That's good.
For sure. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, now we come to our closing question. So we've got our question from our previous guest for you, and then it'll be your job to come up with a question for our next guest.
Got it.
So we'll hit the first one, which is, what is the biggest mistake that you see guys in the fire service making specifically?
Being too heavily reliant on the deferred comp. Okay, so putting all their eggs in one basket.
Gotcha.
Just in my experience. Now, I've met with a ton of firefighters that are really good at saving and that are really good at investing and understand it, right? Because you guys are informed and educated. So just in my experience, and maybe, this is just coincidence, but maybe it's just because I'm meeting with younger guys, right? I'm not meeting with some of the older, 55, 60-year-old retirees. But I mean, putting all your eggs into one basket. I just always tell my clients, you got to break down the way you save money on time horizons. When you put money into the deferred comp, you're not touching it till you retire. So where are we putting money that we can take out in 2 years? Where are we putting it that we can take it out in 2 to 10 years? Where are we taking it out that we can take it in 10 to 20 years? So I'd say the lack of diversification in my eyes is something that's been noticeable in the fire safety or whatever, firefighter, fire department, right? Also not understanding the different vehicles, right? So again, Roth, huge, no brainer. I have yet to, well, I should say this lightly. There's a handful depending on where they're at, right? But I might have 2 or 3 in my wheelhouse, but you don't run into very many firefighters that are Roth and eligible based on income, right? Now, depending on if they're married to a wealthy significant other or dual household income, depending on where they're at, different states, right? Like I know pay is different, but dude, making sure you're mitigating taxes is one, because I feel like a lot of guys really don't I'll ask somebody, hey, it looks like you got your 457 set up, you're doing a good amount into it. Like, did you ask the department if they do Roth or if they offer the Roth option? And some people are like, nope, don't know, not sure, so education on that front. And then the other thing that is a no-brainer, you guys know this, is pension maximization, right? When guys get to and through their tenure at the department, they need to understand that there's going to be several different outcomes with their pension that they get to choose, right? So I think you got to understand, okay, single life option, joint survivor with period certain, right? There's more than that. That's just 3 that I can think off the top of my head, right? But, the pension company does not want you to take the single life option, okay? So, and that's just the way it is, right? Because that means more money stays in the pension fund, which is good for the pension fund, right?
Yeah.
So making sure you're maximizing your pension with certain strategies, making sure you have cash reserves, making sure you're tying that back to that holistic plan, right? So I would say those 3 things are the things that I normally see, right? So lack of diversification, lack of tax mitigation, and making sure you're maximizing your pension with a pension max strategy. Those are the 3 things I see that are missing usually.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Sweet. Well, now that comes to our last section, which is usually the hardest for everyone. So like we mentioned at the beginning of the episode, next episode is episode number 50. So halfway to 100, pretty huge to be getting to that point. So we thought what better than to bring back on Corley Moore, who is just an absolute amazing human being. We've gotten to meet him quite a few times, had him on the podcast before, just retired now as well. So he's lived it all. He's went through that whole career, started early and left as battalion chief. So what question do you have for him that we should ask him next episode?
I wrote it down so I didn't forget. All right. So, this is what I would ask, right? Obviously the impact that you made or he made during his career was huge.
Yes.
Right? And I don't know him personally, but you guys are speaking highly of him, right? So my question for him is, what is the impact after the job is done, after your career is now over, that you're looking to achieve as you move forward in life?
Awesome.
And I would love to know what he says.
Yeah, absolutely. You have to
sure.
Tune in for his episode.
Absolutely. Hey, that's a big 5-0. That's a big one. That's a big one for sure.
Awesome.
Love it.
Well, perfect. That wraps up all the questions that we have. So the last part that we have is what we call the kitchen table. As you might know, that's where all the bullshitting happens at the firehouse.
Sure.
So if there's anything that you want to touch on a little bit more, any shout outs, any just thing that you want to share before we wrap up, the floor is yours.
Oh, for sure, man. No, I'm very, again, my brother being in the first responding world now, probably over 10 years. He started when he was in his early 20s and I was just graduating high school. My cousin, Casey Simon. So my brother, Mike Vullings, he's out there, captain at Mitchell International. Casey Simon, captain at MFD, both been doing it and crushing it for years now. But, shout out to them. Obviously, I got to give a huge shout out to them because when I first started this career, they introduced me to so many people.
Yeah.
And funny enough, 90% of them were all firefighters. So big shout out to them. I give my brother and my cousin, like I said, a lot of props. They're one of the reasons why I'm still in this business and got to meet so many great guys and gals that are in the fire service industry. I love working with you guys and gals, right? So big shout out to them. And then obviously just a huge shout out to you guys. everybody that's in the fire service and in that industry, even EMTs, paratechs, whatever, ambulance, right? Like, you guys do a job, that a lot of people, I'd say most people would not do, if I'm being honest.
Right, we're
right?
insane.
So
you have to be insane to do it.
Mentally.
Yeah, and I think it takes
wrong.
and if you ever met my brother and my cousin, you would know, right? But it takes balls, it takes courage. You guys do things that I would never do, and again, I'm just very appreciative that you guys are in the community, keeping everybody safe, helping everybody out, showing up when it's needed. And again, I'm very thankful, and I try to keep an attitude of gratitude, even with our relationship with you two, man. Like, I'm glad that you guys are in my life, and it's good to see that you guys are thriving and doing well. So big shout out to everybody in the fire service industry. I appreciate everything you do. It does not go overlooked. Obviously, I hope everybody stays safe, as the year comes to a close here, and God bless all of you. And, obviously Bryce and Brennan, appreciate you guys having me on the podcast today.
Thanks for coming on.
Yeah. Thanks for taking the time out of your morning. Hopefully you have a great birthday weekend.
Oh, we will.
Yeah,
don't worry.
sure.
We're gonna fire up a few bevies. Don't worry. It's going. It's all good. I appreciate
Awesome.
you guys.
Yeah, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you everybody for listening. Like I said, big 5-0 next episode. Thank you guys so much as always for the continued support, and as always, don't be a shitbag.
Yeah, don't be a shitbag.
Sounds good. Take it easy, guys.